That's how you know you're like in your girl tribe.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, time just like flies by. And you're like,
oh, should we do this thing?
Right. Okay, all right, so.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's podcast. I'm so excited to have you join us for a great conversation I had with my friend and confidant, Dr. Natalie Magoni. Natalie and I have formed an amazing friendship and just kind of soul sister relationship over the last decade, and you can have a sneak peek into a conversation that we have had about having a girl tribe, being a boy mom. Natalie is raising a set of fierce boy toddler twins, showing up authentically and kind of getting out of that high school catty mentality and showing up for other females. She's a great book recommendation for you. And ironically, where she and I both find a lot of peace and solace and time is where we chose to meet for this. So you'll find us in a yoga studio that she loves to practice in. So I hope you take just a little bit of motivation and peace from this conversation that we have for you today. And I hope that you're remembering throughout the month of October to acknowledge and pay forward this Women in Business month as we go through this series. So enjoy the video version of our podcast today.
For those of you who don't know, this is my very, very dear friend, Dr. Natalie Magoni, and she's going to join us for a portion of our podcast this month for Women in Business. Natalie owns her own chiropractic and health and wellness practice here, and I just really enjoy what her soul does when I'm around her. So,
Well, thank you.
all right, so we're going to talk today about having exactly that, having your girl tribe, right?
Yes.
And we were talking before we got started today about needing to empower other women.
Yeah, and I think it's not even just empowering, it's at showing up authentically, because at the end of the day, I think the one thing women can all be are people pleasers and wanting to present this face to the world of having it all together and not having any problems, not having any trouble, not being any trouble, and that leads to a lot of just loneliness because we all assume that we are uniquely challenged, and at the end of the day, whenever you dump all your stuff out, it's most of the time unanimously met with me too, not oh my gosh. So it's somehow removing those barriers that we all probably put up around ourselves, but that society has also made, and social media has made very, very real and problematic, I think. So
yeah, poor coping mechanisms for all of us.
Yeah, and so I like to believe that we're all empowered in and of ourselves, but we tend to not let that light shine because we're so afraid of all of the things that we don't view as ideal about ourselves. So
yeah,
it's
funny that you mentioned that, because I think that not showing up authentically is one of the pieces that makes us want to be something we're not even in a professional environment. Right. It's one thing when we're around another group of women, mm-hmm. and that's its own kind of topic to talk about, but then when we get into a professional environment where we're almost surrounded by not only the other gender, but women who are lacking some conviction or feeling uncomfortable mm-hmm. about their own place, mm-hmm. our walls kind of come up.
Or our competitive talons come out.
Yeah, and we don't feel willing to be authentic,
right.
Competitive authentically, right? I mean, I know you're super competitive. We're both runners. We're both, into that, and we like that. But then being able to show up competitive in a professional environment makes us come across bossy, or makes us come across, bitchy, or, anything like that, where it's not a healthy competition anymore. Now it's kind of this catty type of thing. It's a difficult place to be, mm-hmm. and how to support yourself.
Yeah, and to your point, how to support other women too, because that then almost feels like it's defeating ourselves and that we're helping prop someone else up when it shouldn't be the case. Like, I love the idea of there's room at the finish line for everybody, but how do we actually create that culture and make that shift?
Yeah. I was listening to the news recently, and there's a mainstream media company that has had a lot of conversation about that exactly, where maybe even 5 years ago, the conversation wasn't even there's room at the table for everyone, but it's you or me.
Yeah.
Rather than, you know what, it can be both of us, let's do this together. And I think that shift has changed a lot for everyone sitting at the table, male or female alike. And it allows our male counterparts to be able to support us in that journey as well. I almost wonder if the pandemic helped that.
I do think it helped in a way. I do think the pandemic was harmful in a lot of ways, but I do feel as though, you know, it took away that 1950s dynamic of the man going away and earning the paycheck and the wife being at home taking care of the babies and making dinner.
Yeah.
Whether or not some of that still happens, sure, of course, and it's not something to even look down on. If that's the right fit for any one person, that's the right fit. But with people working from home, I think it really evened the playing field in a lot of ways, that now we had to figure it out. We had to figure out how it looked to make sure that the kids got their virtual school done, that dinner got made, that all this, everything happened regardless of who did it. And I think in the past, historically, women have taken on that burden, and sometimes out of necessity, but sometimes just out of, well, most dangerous phrase in the world, that's how it's always been done.
Right.
So, you know, I do think that has been a good shift in the sense that it's taken away some of those gender roles that we've always viewed as necessary.
Yeah, I think it almost maybe took away some of the think back to high school, right? Like, everybody was judging you for your shoes or judging you for, you know, the car you drove. We didn't have any of that. Whatever fit in a Zoom camera from like here up, right? I tease my team all the time that we show up in tank tops and mascara at our place, and if you can't, that's all you can see around us. So
that's all that matters.
You know, so it eliminated a lot of that kind of competitiveness as well. You were able to show up authentically, and you were judged on your merits rather than, again, the car that pulled up in the parking lot, or, you know, some of that that kind of
external wrapping.
Yeah, you know, again, it's that hard work. You get the high performing habit score in the, you know, the mutual respect, rather than, again, that kind of like catty, it's you or me type of piece.
It takes the popularity contest out of it,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, some days it still feels like we never actually graduated high school, and there are still the popular kids, and there, you know, that doesn't have anything based in true anything. I mean, it's just the matter of who's got the most alluring personality or the alluring look, and it's not about who does the best job or who, and not even does the best job, but who's the best fit for the job at hand.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we need to start to move towards, is let's embrace the fact that every single one of us within a gender or across gender lines have our unique set of really amazing skills, and we should be putting those to their best use, not just trying to, you know, pound a square peg into a round hole just because that's what's always fit before.
So how do you think that the best way we could move forward in terms of kind of leveling the playing field? I think you and I maybe see eye to eye in terms of, we're not looking for women to be like men. We're looking for everyone to show up authentically, right? I like that word. What do you think the best thing we could do to support the next generation of female leaders, male leaders, just the workforce in general, and try to kind of make that playing field the best?
I mean, I think it's going to take, one of my favorite books is a book called Fierce Conversations, and at the end of the day, I think that as women, we need to own the fact that we don't have enough fierce conversations. We love to smile and make small talk to our women colleagues, but yet most aren't afraid to turn around and stab their friends, quote unquote friends, right in the back. So it does really begin with us, in the sense that we need to have tough conversations with ourselves, like, what am I best bringing to the table? What do I best expect out of these women in my life to bring to the table? And how do we start to just not make nice all the time and make nice of things not being the way that they should be? You and I talked about this real recently about setting those expectations, and if they're not met, having that conversation too. And it's not about projecting your expectation of what has to happen on that person, but entering into these almost like contracts, like, hey Kat, you know what, I want to be your training partner, and I'm telling you I'm going to meet you 5 days a week at 6 a.m. to run. If I don't show up for that, that's not that you put that expectation. I agreed to that expectation, and then I need to show up for it. So I think it starts there, but I think it expands so much broader into those conversations with our partners, spouses, brothers, fathers, neighbors, sons, and just letting them know, like, this is an acceptable way of showing up for the women in your life, and this is not only just acceptable, this is what's necessary to start to make change. And it's not going to be this overnight shift, because at the end of the day we still live in a time where men are the majority leadership in our world. But the more that they start to understand that not only do we want to be at that table, but we deserve to be at that table and should be, and not only that, but we provide a lot of value at that table, then they are going to be the voices standing and cheering right alongside us, saying, yeah, this is actually not just what's right, but what's necessary.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's just a lot of conversation to be had and a lot of tough boundaries to establish. If you're not happy making dinner every night, have you told your husband that you're not happy making dinner every night? Like, you don't get to be unhappy if you haven't voiced your desire for change. And so I think that's where it starts is, we're having a whole different conversation if you've said that for 6 months and you're still making dinner every night. But until you've actually said it, you can't expect people in your lives or in the world to just change because all of a sudden they have this earth-shattering realization that it should be different. And so until they have seen that it should be different, have had conversations, have created some mental ownership of that in their own world, it's not going to change. And it's definitely not going to change just because we think it should.
I love the part about being a boy mom and really kind of teaching our young men what it's like to not only have a strong mom, but have a sister or have a grandma or a friend that is a female, predominantly female teachers in their world, and what it's like to not see them as someone that they can change or think better of or whatever, but as an equal, and how to best support them and allow other people to not walk on them. I think that's the biggest gateway that being a boy mom can be, right? It comes with snakes and mud and bugs and all the crazy, yes, exactly. But being a boy mom has almost an obligation in my eyes to teach these young men that it's not about, what they're entitled to, but the ability that they have to open doors for others.
Yeah, and I think that that's the best thing that we can do for them. I mean, of course, you want your children to be successful, you want your children to be all of these things, but maybe this is a very millennial thing of me to say, and I'm not saying that sarcastically. I think this is a great thing to say. I think at the end of the day, like, we want our children to be kind. And that is what starts to create that equality, because equality comes from kindness, and equality comes from thinking that other people are worthy of us treating them the same as we would treat anyone else. And our little boys, they're not born with the thought that they're better, stronger, faster, more worthy of anything. They somehow get taught that by the world. So I think that it's what we teach them, and I think it's also what we show them. Whatever that is, if it's a stay-at-home mom to an executive of a company, that's not the point. It's being who you are meant to be, think you should be, want to be, and filling that role so exceptionally that they look at you as the mom, sister, wife, whatever, and say, there's nobody that could do this job better. I cannot imagine anybody replacing this woman.
Yeah.
And when we show up like that, all of a sudden, all of these friends, moms, sisters, brothers, husbands, whatever it may be, are thinking, that woman should have the world.
Yeah.
It's not, they don't even think that for a second that she doesn't deserve it.
Right.
So
exactly. I love it.
Yeah.
I know you are fortunate. I know I'm super fortunate to be a boy mom. So just in closing, tell me what you would have told yourself 10 years ago. Give yourself some advice 10 years ago. A decade, right? Can go by kind of fast, but I know you and we've actually known each other for about...
close to a decade.
Yes, exactly. So give yourself a piece of advice and all the things that you've learned. I know they're fruitful in the last decade. What would you have told yourself 10 years ago?
I think, we've sat here and talked about all of these, like, setting boundaries and setting these expectations and whatnot. And it's probably sounding very ironic of me to say that I would tell myself to not be so attached to the outcome, because, and I'm sure, and I know you've had similar experiences where so many things happen in life and business, etc., where the actions of others maybe not what we wanted or would have ever saw coming, and that can be painful. But at the end of the day, you come out on the other side of those things and you realize, gosh, I am so much better for them because I came out happy, fulfilled, in a better place than I ever would have imagined because of the actions of a few, or even just the world itself happening. And so I would tell myself to not get so caught up in any one struggle, because they don't really mean a lot at the end of the day in and of themselves. And in reality, as much as I hate to admit it, they typically do make you better, stronger, etc. So I think just to our entire point, showing up authentically, not controlling the actions of others, and just, of course, hoping that as a whole we can all move towards better, but knowing at the end of the day it's only myself that I can 100% count on to do that. So for what it's worth.
That and those cute little boys.
Oh my goodness. I'm too lucky.
Yes.
I'm too lucky.
You are. Well, thank you so much for talking with us.
Anytime at all.
We'll share your social media links so that people can follow all of your running crazy journeys and those
all
that adorable puppy and all of the crazy things that you have going on.
And yes, the insanity that ensues.
Well, I'm super appreciative that you're a part of my tribe and that you show up every day for me.
Well, thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.